Welcome to Pop Palace. My name is Jack. I'm the host. One thing at Pop Palace we like to do is have our guests introduce themselves and tell us one of your earliest memories you have related to music.
Yeah, hey everybody. My name is Akeem Oh. I am a indie pop singer-songwriter. I like to say that the music I make is soft boy indie pop. Yeah, I'm based in Toronto, in Canada, but I'm also American for people from America watching. But yeah, I self-produce, write, and do a bit of everything. My earliest memory would definitely be the first time I played live. um I feel like because it was such a like bedroom thing for such a long time, where I
Hmm.
was always kind of making music at home and kind of like, I guess, like hiding in my world. And then yeah, I was 7 when I did my first performance. It was like this karaoke showcase thing that my hometown was having, and I was like, oh, I'll do it. And I did Mambo Number 5. And I had a few friends that were like the dancers as well, so it was interesting. And then at the end of the show, I threw my hat in the crowd, and the crowd went wild. And it kind of like confirmed that, like, oh yeah, you know what, this is what I want to do. I want to also have a bit of like that private little world I have, where like I'm writing music at home and
Hmm.
like, kind of huddled up doing that, but also find ways to perform my music and share that with the world.
Yeah, totally. That's so cute. You had dancers and like the little hat moment at the end.
Yeah, I mean, you've been to one of my shows as well. Like, I like to have fun with it. It's
Hmm.
as much as like I like to be like, oh, I'm a serious artist, blah blah blah. I'm also not really like that. I like just
Yeah,
having a good time connecting and being a little wacky as well.
totally. So your EP is soon to be released. I have got
Yes.
to hear some of the songs. I'm so excited. Can you tell us a little bit
Yes.
about how this project came to be and like what was the origin of the project?
Yeah, it's funny because honestly, I've been working on an EP for like, oh my gosh, for like 10 years. I've been saying like, oh, there's an EP coming, there's an EP coming.
Mhm.
And I think that, humans change so quick. We grow so quick as well. Like, we could be going through one thing or feeling one thing, but then like, a minute later or a day later, it's completely different. So I think that's what happened is, I started to release music in 2018 officially. And right when I had released that song, Winter Crush, I was like, oh yeah, like it'll be part of an EP, about like the effects of like relationships and romanticizing and stuff. And over time, it kind of just became a thing of its own.
Mhm.
I'm the type as well that like I like to just let things, yeah, kind of just like take their own path, do their own thing. So with this project, it's been a lot of that, just like releasing things from time to time, allowing myself to grow, and then at some point being like, oh, you know what, this does have a theme. It does have a message. It's beyond just like the effects of relationships. So that's kind of like how it came to be.
Mhm.
And this year has just been a lot of just like, oh, like these songs are ready now, they should go out there. Um and it's funny as well because sometimes I don't even really know what a project is about
Mhm.
until the very end, when all the pieces come together. Then you start to realize a lot of things about yourself, but a lot of things about like, the healing you're doing in that creation as well. So yeah, it's been an adventure for sure, but I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. Was there like a specific moment when you were like, I have an EP ready? Like when all the songs you kind of like felt came together? Was there like a day that you're like, wait, I think I have it?
Yeah, it's funny because I kind of just like decided there was going to be an EP this summer.
Mhm.
It was kind of just like a decision I made, like especially because like shows were showing up, and it was like, okay, what can I do for these shows? Like, because for me, it's always important to mix it up, to do something different with every show.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was like, you know what? This is when I'm going to be like presenting the songs from this EP. It's going to be like the pre-release shows.
Mhm.
So that's really what it's been for me, doing these pre-release shows. There's one song called Moments for that kind of made me realize what everything was about, like the whole project, because I was still kind of like in that mindset of like, oh, the effects of relationships and
Mhm.
romanticizing and how I take in those relationships. But then like Moments for, it seems like a bit of like a love song, or like, like you're kind of like running out of time, but it's really a song about my childhood. It's like a conversation with my, my inner child, because, growing up, you're always like, oh, by the time I'm 25, I'm gonna have a family and a
Yep.
fucking boat and a horse or whatever. But yeah, it's like as you grow up, those expectations you had for yourself, they don't always pan out. And yeah, it was a conversation to say like, oh, like it's fine, like you are where you're supposed to be, and like the inner child is still there and very present and still hopeful, no matter what life throws at you. So that was honestly like the big moment, the big realization. And it's that song Moments for is the last song on the EP. So it's, yeah, I feel like I'm seeing myself kind of like grow and seeing myself on a journey through this EP, which is great, because that's what's important for me, is the journey.
That's so cool. Do you think once you release the EP into the world that your experience with like that specific project will change too? Now that other people are listening to it?
Yeah, definitely. I think what's beautiful about music as well is, you know, maybe it represents an era that you're in, like it's like a snapshot of that moment. But what's great is the music grows in so many ways. It grows because of perception, it grows because you're growing as a human and you can kind of like look at it from the outside. And then playing live as well, like playing these songs become, um, they become so many other different things now.
Mhm.
Um, and sometimes I like to kind of change up a little bit live and like extended intros or outros or whatever. Um, so yeah, it's fun to see that like no matter what you do, your art is always going to continue to grow and have a different significance for yourself. So yeah.
Do you think that what would you say like you little Akeem as a child listening to the EP would say about it?
Yeah, I think my like it's interesting. I think that my like if I went back like right to like those moments, without kind of like taking into consideration everything I've been through since
Yeah,
then, I think he would be a little confused.
right.
Because like I feel like, especially like I'm, we don't need to talk about that. But millennials, the music industry was completely different. Like even when I started, like before my official releases, I was releasing stuff on iTunes, and
Mhm.
like there was hundreds of people buying the music.
Yeah.
It was a whole different era. Whereas like now, you get streaming numbers, but those streaming numbers, like they don't really reflect much. Like a
Mhm.
streaming number could be like, oh, someone listened to your song halfway or whatever and
Yeah.
switched, or passively listened to it. So yeah, I feel like, yeah, my younger self would be confused, but if I did go to my younger self knowing everything I know now,
Mhm.
I definitely think he would be proud. And I mean, I know he's proud. He's like he's still in there,
Yeah.
and I want the mini Akeem to like reflect in
Mhm.
what I'm doing, pretty much all the time now. It's such an important part of myself, and I want to embrace that.
Yeah. That's so sweet. So currently Sense is probably my top track on the EP, but
Hey.
I'm particularly struck by the lyric, if it ever made sense, why would we have to do it that way? Could you
Yeah.
collaborate on the meaning behind those words and like what that means to you? I kept like repeating that in my head and I
Mhm.
was like, I need to ask him because I'll get to talk to him about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun because like I never get to talk about Sense. I feel like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people will kind of like mention other songs in the sets that I've been playing live.
Yeah.
And even just like with like label meetings, it's always been like, oh, it's a good one, but it's like, it's a filler kind of thing. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, for me, Sense has been one of those important songs for so many reasons, because like it first kind of started about like how like sometimes you have a fling with someone or whatever, and they're like, oh no, we have to do things this way, or like, but it's like, why not go at our own pace, you
Yeah.
know? And I think that, especially for me, the song has also kind of become a bit of a song about like queerness as well,
Mm-hmm.
which is something that I feel like I don't really talk much about. I feel like it's kind of like it's hidden in some of what I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's honestly just like, yeah, going at your own pace, and like we don't really need to be doing whatever other generations were doing, Like I think that sometimes we're so focused on like our own growth, that like we forget that like, we can also all grow together as
Yeah.
well, like in that, it's society as well can grow. It's funny because like it was Pride in my hometown in Northern Ontario this weekend,
Uh-huh.
and there's so many like people that were like, what's happening to our town, like what the hell, and they're
Yeah.
like, the only flag we're flying is the Canadian flag. And I was what like what does it do if like what does it do to you specifically if like people want to be who they truly are,
Yeah.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I wanted that song to be that. Um, it was also kind of like my attempt at writing a 1975 song. Because at
Yeah.
the time I was seeing someone who was super into them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know what? Like maybe like the bridge kind of sounds like it, but I don't know. I feel like it's still very me.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's about like, yeah, going at your own pace with someone. Like there's no problem with that.
I, I'm like honestly surprised that Sense isn't like everyone else's favorite. I I don't know, it resonates with me so much, and I feel like as queer people, we don't have like a blueprint or like a plan set in front of us that we can like look at someone else and be like, "Oh, they did it this way. I can just like walk in their footsteps." But I feel like
Hmm.
a lot of us are just like out here roaming, like figuring it out as we go,
Yeah.
and there is no right or wrong way to do it either. So I don't know, I feel
Hmm.
like it just really spoke to me. I also really relate to the pride story you're talking about, being in Oklahoma. People are like, we
Yeah.
only fly the American flag around here, and I'm like,
Mirko.
I'm not gonna come over there and like make you gay, like.
Yeah. No, it's yeah, I honestly don't get when people get like so offended. It's like,
Yeah.
how can love and being yourself offend anyone?
Mm-hmm.
That makes absolutely no sense to me. Sense. But yeah, no, I'm glad you like it. It's funny, the band. Oh, it's a little wild here in Toronto today. Um, the band loves it. Like when we play it live, it's
Mm-hmm.
always one of their favorites because it's just funky, and like I get to put the guitar down and kind of do my awkward dancing.
Yeah.
And it's great. And actually, I want to say one more thing about it.
Totally.
Another thing that really inspired it is there's an episode of Black Mirror where you're given a timer when you meet someone,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like you're going to stay with that person for that amount of time, and that's it. It's like kind of like an automated AI system.
Yeah.
And then at the end, the two that were like really into each other but had to end the relationship ended up finding each other again, and the
Oh.
button was saying that like they weren't meant to be together, but they were like, no, like this is the journey I want to be on right now. So they kind of jump this fence, like this I don't know, like it was like this weird kind of like computer coded fence that they jumped.
Mm-hmm.
And so like when I say like we can jump the fence, electric lovers won't be like the others loving undercover, it kind of comes from that. So
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I love Black Mirror. The Have you ever seen there's one with like these two queer women and they go into this like
Yes.
gay dream world? Oh my gosh. So
Yeah,
fun.
iconic. And even
Yes.
just like when that came out, like I remember people were like, "Oh, this is controversial. Like I've never seen anything like that." Blah, blah, blah. And yeah, it's great to see that there are so many queer love stories now. And you mentioned the whole like, not really seeing that representation in media as much, so it's difficult to kind of navigate how a relationship can go. But I
Mhm.
think that like there's so much beauty in that. It's like, yes, queer people have been pushing for rights and for to be seen and everything, but it's like we're still so early in it in so many aspects, and it's beautiful to see what's being built, and beautiful that like there are kids that are being born into a world that is more accepting every day,
Yeah.
so yeah, if I can write about that, uh, if I can push that in any way, like that's, yeah, and it's great. Honestly, it's great.
Yeah, I feel like also in the music world, I say this all the time on the podcast and I'll say it again, but I think queer people and women like have some like specific ability to translate feelings into music that like a straight man would like never understand or be able to do. And like I think part of it is having to navigate the world in a different lens that gives you the
Mhm,
perspective to like be able to explore that in music.
mhm.
Do you how do you feel about that?
I think it's true. And I think that there's also just like another level of compassion and empathy and
Mhm.
understanding in a lot of people that like live through like struggles that
Yeah.
have been kind of like imposed by society. So definitely there's definitely a deeper understanding. It's I know a lot of a lot of people will say kind of like the whole kind of like sheeple thing where like, some people it's just kind of like they just kind of follow along with whatever's going on in
Yeah.
society and they don't want to open up. But it's like,
Mhm.
I don't know, there's magic in in queer people that have their stories to tell, and women who have lived so many different types of oppression, and like, so many people will be like, oh, but like they have rights now, like they can vote now, but it's like it's bigger than that. And I
Mhm.
think that until the world fully does become feminist and open, that's when, like, now you can take, like, you can, I guess, like, take a step back, but
Yeah,
until then it's like no matter what, you have to keep going.
totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, music is such a vulnerable like story that you're putting out there and personable like we've been talking about. Do you ever feel nervous to release something like so personable into the public, or do you kind of get like a sense of release, like a freeing feeling?
It's a bit of both, for sure. Yeah, it's funny. There's one song that I didn't play at the Toronto show, actually. That's called "Better Problems,"
Mhm.
and that one is pretty much one of my latest songs, and it kind of deals with like a relationship that kind of ended and kind of got sour and stuff. And it's like, I talk about kind of like how like she was so important to me, and she was like a mountain to climb.
Mhm.
um but I always kind of like ended up falling down because, like, it just wasn't necessarily meant to be
Yeah.
longer than that moment or whatever. um so a song like that, definitely, I'm a little more weary about it making its way out.
Mhm.
But I think that like I want to live my truth, as much as possible, and I want to become, a better human. And I think that like by living your truth and being honest and putting it out there, it definitely helps. And um I feel like I often write songs that are, very kind of more like uplifting, happy, blah blah blah, and I don't really allow myself to like fully finish a song that talks about like some of my struggles and
Yeah.
like some deep stuff. So
Mhm.
it'll definitely be therapeutic once it's out there, but it's also like, oh my gosh, like what is she gonna think, or what
Yeah.
are others going to think that like I also have those types of emotions on the inside, you know? But I don't
Mhm.
know. It's very human. It's very human
Yes.
no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like always sharing anything personal to yourself is always a little bit scary, no matter the
Yeah.
context. It's just always,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
regarding, I love the song "Fomotion," and
Hey,
I
thank
take it
you.
as a take of like, it strikes me as a intersection of like living in the moment and the melancholy of like missing out. So that's just my take, but how would you describe it to you personally?
Yeah, for me it was kind of like a song about um like a little bit about the pandemic, you know, how
Mhm.
like we used to kind of take things for granted so much before the pandemic. And then like the pandemic happened obviously and everyone was kind of like cooped up in their own
Yep.
little worlds, and it was kind of difficult to get out of that
Mhm.
afterwards, you know, because like you would get out of it but then you're still kind of like tiptoeing on eggshells,
Yeah.
you know, like trying not to get sick or to, you know, not make anyone uncomfortable as well, because we basically spent, you know, a year and a half, sometimes two, really being careful with others. So yeah, the whole kind of like dancing in full motion, just, you know, dancing in fear of missing out. It's like, yeah, you're literally dancing on eggshells, you know, you're
Yeah.
like on the beach tiptoeing and it's like you could sink at any moment, you know.
Mhm.
So that's kind of what it was. And of course I added the whole kind of like love thing
Yeah.
to it as I do. But yeah, definitely just about that whole fear of missing out. And I think that because that's kind of, you know, like the centerpiece of the EP. And, you know, having that song in kind of like connection with moments for, uh, you kind of realize that like the kind of like fear of missing out thing is kind of also just instilled from like childhood,
Yeah.
you know, like
Mhm.
wanting everything all at once and like realizing that like that's not how life works. Um, so there's definitely like a connection between those two.
Yeah. Were you in like the city when COVID was happening?
Yeah, so I lived in Ottawa at the time, and I don't know if the U.S. kind of heard a little bit about what had happened, but there was this whole thing where the truckers kind of like invaded like the Parliament, like Parliament Hill, for like two
What?
months. Yeah, so and it was like
That's
very
crazy.
like conservative people with
Yeah.
like Blue Lives Matter and like
Yep.
Confederate flags, and it was like this whole like, oh, like the pandemic is just like infringing on our rights, and like
So
it
insane.
was just ridiculous. Like lots of conspiracy theories, and it just brought out like so many like right leaning people to the point where like it's had a big effect on Canada. It's like
Yeah.
now there are right wing political parties that have started because of that, you know,
It's
like
so
a lot of,
crazy.
and so much like, you know, misinformation. I think that like,
Mhm.
especially like, you know, those truckers, most of them were Ontarian as well.
Yep.
And, you know, in Ontario, we have our government in Ontario that takes care of everything to do with health.
Mhm.
And for them, they were like, oh, it's, you know, it's Trudeau and his policies and the liberals and the blah, blah, blah. But it's like, actually, it's your conservative government. It's like, it's one of you guys, you
Yeah.
know? So it's like, have that conversation there, you know, don't blame it on everyone else and blame it
Mhm.
on people of color. And
Yep.
it was ridiculous, honestly. But I'm glad that that's done. I think that like we learned a lot, but the one thing I wish we learned from all of that was that like we all collectively went through something, like the whole world went through this.
Yeah.
And instead of coming together in the end, we've just kind of like started just like drift off now, and there's so much divide now. And yeah, and it's too bad. It's really too bad because it could have honestly been like something special in the end that brought people together.
Yeah, I totally relate. Like, I feel like before and after, it's like a completely different world, and everyone is so much more divided. And like here, the conspiracy theories were going crazy. People were like basically walking around with tinfoil hats on. It was
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
So
it's wild.
I got the chance to see you at North by perform live. I was so
Hey.
excited. It was so fun.
Hmm.
The atmosphere was just immaculate. I loved you had a TV that you were playing like your visuals on in front, and you just got into the crowd, and I feel like it vanished into the crowd like we were all together. How do you go about creating such a deliberate and unique environment for your live shows?
That's a good question, honestly. I think that it's just like I feel like everything is kind of like intensified for me all the time.
Mhm.
Uh, I think I said it at the show that like I got diagnosed with ADHD,
Oh
but it's
yeah.
like I feel like everyone kind of like knew for such a long time, you know, because like I think it kind of goes back to the whole I want everything all at once, you
Mhm.
know? And
Yeah.
for me, when I'm doing a show, I don't want to just be on stage, play the show, leave, that's it. You know, I want
Mhm.
for people to live an experience. I want them to kind of completely come into my world. And my world isn't always like very straightforward, very um linear, you know? Like
Yeah.
my world is filled with little things happening all the time. And yeah, that's I feel like that's my way of inviting people in, is like, hey, like let's just have a good time. And for this one, it was the last show in the run that I was doing, and I was
Mhm.
like, I don't want to take it too seriously. I just want to have a good time with people, connect. Let's get some balloons, some
Yeah.
bubbles, like just like create our own little bubble together.
Yeah.
And and it's fun because now I'm planning the next shows. You know, I feel like I'm always kind of planning something. And you know, the TVs are leaving for now. You know, they might
Okay.
come back someday, but we're going to be doing something different this time as well.
Oh,
So
I'm
yeah,
excited.
I always just want to do something different, unique. And I feel like every little part of those shows also like come from experiences I've lived. You know, it's all everything is very thought out for
Yeah.
sure.
I feel like
Yeah.
too, as an audience member, like I've gone to so many shows in my life, and even some like really amazing shows, but you still feel like there's a separation. Like you're watching the show and you're just like there, or versus like experiencing it. And I
Mhm.
feel like you are really good at bridging the gap for like where the audience feels like they're experiencing the show versus just watching it. And I feel like that's something that might just come natural, or do you think that's something that you had to like decisively like put together?
Thank you, by the way. Thank you so
Of
much.
course, yes.
Um, that's also a good question. I'm trying to think of what I would say to that. I feel like I've been to so many shows where like even it's an artist that I love, you know, and I want to
Mhm.
support, but it's like halfway through the show you're like, okay, like get to it. You know, I don't know if
Right.
that happens to you sometimes as well,
Yes.
but yeah, it's just like you're obviously enjoying the show and you love the music, but you're also like there could be more happening.
Mhm.
And I feel like since I'm also not like at that, like I'm not at the point where like I'm, you know, selling out stadiums and all of that, or theaters. So like for me it's like connecting with people while I can in like
Yeah.
the most like human way possible is just like it's part of the experience. Like that's where I'm at right now. And when I and no, I'm just gonna say it. When I do play some bigger shows and get a lot of people out, play stadiums, I
Yeah.
also want to have a moment where I do go in the crowd as well, you
Mhm.
know, and just like do that last song in the crowd and have people sing along. And like no matter what, I want my shows to be human, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it's from going to shows and feeling like I'm not part of it that
Mhm.
has made me do that. So Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Okay,
Mhm.
well, I have one last question. I don't want to keep you too long,
Hey, no
but
worries. I'm having a great time. This
okay,
is great.
good.
Yeah.
So, Pop Palace, we go off kind of like the royal theme of the palace, but imagine you're in a royal throne, so you're like
Okay.
queen or king, and you have two to three musical idols or influences in the court with you. Who would they be? And I'd like
Oh
to
my
preface
gosh.
too, mine change like monthly to weekly, so it's not like set in stone or anything. It can be just like for today, so there's not as much
Mhm.
pressure. And they could be dead or alive or like fictional or non-fictional. There's no rules here. So
Okay. That's actually pretty good. Oh my gosh. Um, yeah, I know that like I would definitely say Stevie Wonder's definitely there.
mm-hmm.
You know, I think that his journey from like, you know, being a kid that got signed at 13 at Motown Records and was kind of like told to sing a certain way or told to entertain a certain way because Motown was, you know, it's a black label, but in the States, and, you know, there wasn't really much of a push for black artists. So they had to
Yeah.
kind of like behave a certain way so that white people would buy the music and it would
Yep.
chart, whatever. Uh, but yeah, he got to a point where he was just like, nah, you know what? I'm going to do whatever I want. And then the label was like, oh, this is not going to work out. Like, it's not going to work out at all. Like, you'll see it's the end of your career. And he recorded 5 albums in a row that went to number one, some of the greatest music from the 70s. And 4 of them won Album of the Year at the Grammys 4 times in a row. And that's something that like
That's
no artist has
insane.
ever been able to do. Um, and I think also just like because like I grew up in a small town, 2,000 people, very conservative, very white as well,
Mm-hmm.
having an influence like Stevie Wonder and hearing him on the radio and stuff, and like having my parents say like, "Oh, that's Stevie Wonder. He's so like so talented." Like that was like a huge influence for me. And yeah, I always go through phases where I'm like really really listening to him. So I'd say him. I'd say Paul McCartney as well, who's like
Mm-hmm.
a huge influence for me. And then who else would I say? Um, you know what? I'm gonna say Celine Dion
Okay.
because like Celine is such an icon, such a
Mm-hmm.
Canadian treasure,
Yes.
um, French Canadian as well, like me. And Celine's music was played so much at home as well.
Mm-hmm.
Though she's not necessarily like an influence for me, I have so much respect for her, especially as like someone who really entertains and like really hones her craft and is silly on stage and
Yes.
you know like her French Canadian really comes out. So when I see that, I always smile, and I think with like everything she's been through as well,
Yeah.
with her health, and you know I watched the documentary which was like so difficult for me, but to see her back at it, you know, no matter what, you know, no matter what life has thrown at her, she's kept going, and that is
Mm-hmm.
just like so inspiring. So yeah, definitely, yeah, Stevie Wonder, Paul McCartney, and Celine Dion.
That's like
Yeah.
such a good mix. I love it. Well, thank you so much for
Yeah.
joining me. It was so lovely to talk to you. Is there any last things you want to say to the audience before we go?
Well, I want to say that it was honestly so great to meet you at North by, and the fact that you came down for well to come see shows and everything. Like it that was really special to hear that for me, and it felt reassuring as well that like you know the music community is alive no matter what you know technology is throwing, like AI and streaming and
Yeah.
all of that. There's still people that want to go and experience shows and have great podcasts like this.
Ugh,
So, yeah.
thank you so
So,
much.
thank you so
Well,
much.
I flew all the way to come see y'all, and I already knew who y'all were. I was so excited. It was like the time of my life, and I'll be back next year. So,
Hey, well, thank you so much. We'll
of
have to catch
course.
up.
Yes, I hope you have a
Perfect.
lovely day. It was so great to talk to you.
Yes, thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. And anytime you need anything, just send me a shout.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay. Bye. Have a great day.